My actual name is Lawrence Dopson, a.k.a. Pops 1500. I am originally from Chicago, Illinois. Uh, my career started back in 1967 professionally, where I was part of a vocal group back in the day, and we gigged a lot in Chicago, started establishing our name there, got tight with all the disc jockeys, ran into friends of mine who became superstars like the Maurice White of Earth, Wind, and Fire, Sheila Hutchison and them, and as the Emotions. So I had a great career back in that time. But then in the 70s, the disco music came in. And as a result, a lot of the nightclubs that we were performing in on a weekly basis converted into disco dance floors. So they wiped out all of the live entertainment and just brought in dance floors. That kind of forced my hand. I said, okay, Chicago is not beneficial for me anymore, which forced me to move out to Los Angeles.
And when you think about the disco era, like, can you tell me a little bit about, like, just the Chicago feel? Like, what did Chicago look like at that time?
Oh, man, Chicago was... you, all I can remember when you asked that question is the style of clothes that people were wearing back then. The big gangster pants and the hats. The women was dressed in their little shiny but tight skirts and things like that. But when disco hit, it kind of changed. They went to the big shoes, the big heels, and people just started dancing like crazy. But Chicago is really known for its blues. It was the originator of where blues really initiated in this country. Once our ancestors and our parents and stuff came from the South and migrated to Chicago, is when the blues kicked in. And that's when you started hearing people like Bobby Bland and all these heavyweight blues players performing in Chicago every weekend. My mom was originally from Tennessee. My dad was from North Carolina. Somewhere they met between the two. And my dad moved to Tennessee for a minute and connected with my mom. I think they got married then, and they drove up to Chicago and found a place to stay in Chicago. That was right after the Jim Crow thing kind of disseminated. And a lot of blacks moved from the South to those cities like Chicago, Detroit, New York. That's when blacks kind of expanded it throughout the United States.
So where were your grandparents from?
My grandparents from, well, they were originally from my knowledge, because now you're going back some years on me. My mom's parents was from Memphis, Tennessee. And my dad's parents was from North Carolina. So they grew up in those areas. But mind you, during that time was the Jim Crow era. So yeah, it wasn't the most favorable time for our culture in this country at that time.
Okay, so what did your dad do? Tell me about him.
My dad, all I know is he worked as in a fishery department. He would cut sliced fish up, wrap it up for you, sell it to you. There was a store called Jacob Juzinski Fish in the city of Chicago, on the west side of Chicago, as a matter of fact. In fact, I remember when I was small, I even went there and worked on the weekends with him. And I would come home and I'd have to take a shower, boy, because the fish smell was all up on me. That I can remember. But yeah, he worked there consistently. My mom, she worked for the president at that time of Zenith Corporation. Zenith Corporation was a company that made televisions. So she was kind of like the housemaid. She would go to their place and clean up and then come back home. She had another little side job where she was a beautician. She did hair. So between them two working like that, they were able to provide for me and my brothers and sister.
Okay, and tell me about the kind of car your dad was driving at that time?
Most of the time I saw him in the fish truck. But he did have a 1964 Impala that I remember.
Four
Drop top.
door? Oh my.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I remember driving in that, and they used to take me to the airport because I was kind of a airplane freak. I used to love to watch the airplanes come in. So he would take me out to Midway Airport, buy me some McDonald's, and I sit up there and I watch these planes go and come, which was pretty exciting for me as a kid.
Okay, can you talk about like some of the personal and some of the things that he taught you growing up that like you still carry today?
Yeah, one of the things he used to say to me all the time: do unto others as you wish to be done by." And of course, when I was young, I didn't really understood what he meant. But as I grew, it kind of made sense to me. You just treat people the way you wish to be treated. And that stuck with me. I think kindness, being humble and kind to people can carry a long way versus the opposite. So that's the one thing that stands out in my mind. Plus, my dad was pretty much an athlete. Um, he played for the Baseball Negro League. He also was a boxer until somebody broke his nose and he decided to quit that. But he gave me I got a lot of skills from him because when I was growing up, I was just a lover of baseball. So he would work with me, give me all the basics. For my size, I could hit the long ball. So I had captured his skills. And at one point in my life, especially when I was in high school, I was contemplating, this is what I want to do. I want to be a baseball star. But then I had an older brother. His name was Clarence Dopson. We called him Chubby. He introduced me to music. And it was kind of a unique way he did it. He bought me a set of bongos. And he made me learn this song called T Mambo by a guy named Tito Puente, who I'd never heard of before. But he made me learn every beat of that song. He was very disciplined, and I had to do it every day. But after I'd done it, that's when I realized, oh, he's teaching me rhythm, where I say 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 bar, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 bars. And I can play all these beats within those bars. So I got that. Once he realized that I had that, then he started making me listen to people like Cannonball Adderley, who was a well-known jazz artist. He started making me listen to Nancy Wilson, a very well-known female jazz vocalist. And by doing that, he was attaching me to melodies where I hear somebody singing and just, ooh, that sounds good. What they're saying makes sense. So it was a combination of me hearing notes and words together that kind of gave me the insight. Oh, so this is what songwriting is about, and this is what singing is about. And of course, in the mid '60s, Motown started, and I got to listening at the groups, and I just went crazy after that. Yeah, I was deep in it then. But unfortunately, my oldest brother passed away when I was 12. And I remember specifically as his coffin was passing me after the service, I stopped him and I put my hand on his coffin. I said to him, what you taught me, I'm going to use for the rest of my life. And as a result, I've been in the music industry since then.
That's an amazing story. Do you, I don't know if you mind sharing, how did he pass?
That's a well-known, unknown question. My brother was only 24 years old when he passed. He was at his girlfriend's house, and she tried to wake him, and he was gone. Yeah, and I'll never forget, I heard my mom screaming in her room, and I got out of bed and said, Mama, what's wrong? And that's when she told me my brother died. But funny thing about that, we had a dog named Prince that he had purchased. And that dog was moaning before my mom started screaming to show that he sensed that his master, Chubby, was gone. So, yeah, it was deep. But after he passed away, I just went 10 toes down straight to music, man. That's all I did at that point.
And give me the experiences of like school at this time. Because how old? You said you were 12. So then you went full like are y'all like singing on the corner? Like what does it look like?
Yeah. When I got when 12 years old, yeah, we started. I mean, you had groups like the Temptations out with good, great songs that was captivating to our community. There was another group called the Intruders, I recall, that I listened to a lot. And what I did, because he trained my ear so well, I would listen if I dug a song by either artist, I would listen at that song without exaggeration 100 times. I got to the point where I would put, and at that time, the stereo was just being developed in the record industry, where you could separate voices from instruments. So my older brother had bought me this uh, record player that had two different speakers, and I would be in bed, one speaker on this side, the other speaker on this side. And just by the turn of the knob, I could just listen to what the background guys were doing. Or if I turn it this way, I could just listen to what the lead singer was doing. And I formed such a habit of doing that. I got to the point where I knew what every instrument was doing in the song, what every vocal. I could tell you who was singing what from the Temptations. I knew what Paul was doing. I knew what Otis was doing. All those guys, just through the consistency of listening. So that's how I developed my ear. And after that, yeah, all the groups in the neighborhood want me because I could establish harmonies for them just like that. You know what I mean? So that's how my career started.
Okay, so what made you say I'm going to really pursue this? Because you could have joined the military.
Well, I had another brother. Well, I have another brother who's still living. He's the only one in the family that went to the Marines. And when he came home after boot camp, my room and his room was in the same. My bed was here, his bed was over here. And I'll never forget, one night he woke up, and I jumped him, saying, "What's going on?" He was ready, he was in fight mode, just waking up in fight mode. That scared me so bad, I said, you know what? I'm not going. And at that time, there was a cartoon called Top Cat that was on television, right? And Top Cat would hide in garbage cans, right? I had decided that's what I was going to do. If they come to my house looking for me, I'm going back down. I'm going out the back door to the alley, and I'm going to jump in the nearest trash can and hide. I was just that determined not to go to the military. So that I just continued with the career thereafter that.
Okay, but this is, again, you're young, you could go to the factory. There's job opportunities. So
I had no interest. I was 10 toes down from my promise to my brother that I was going to do music no matter what. I did attempt a job one time because finances, my mom was trying to educate me, and dad too, say, "Hey man, you got to make some money, bro. We can't take care of you forever." So I went out and I got this job at this pizza place in Chicago. My first day, I must have washed 300 dishes over and over. Every time I finished the pile, I say, and here comes the guys bringing more dirty dishes. I didn't like that. And then at the end of the night, I had to mop and sweep the whole place. I did one day and I quit. I said, nope, this is not for me. And I just went crazy on music then. I got with this group called the Five Wagers, and they were pretty popular, but they needed a lead singer, and they came and got me. And from that point on, we were locked in. We got so good, man. We were working every weekend in the city of Chicago for 10 years, nonstop. We would open up for Al Green at some of the major events. So some of these major artists that come to Chicago, they would use us to open up the show for these major artists. So that's kind of how my career kind of started growing a little bit.
Okay. And pursuing music brought you to LA.
Yeah, most definitely, because at that time, Motown was what was happening. And when Berry Gordy decided to move Motown, I think he moved Motown in the latter part of 1974. I'm saying, And now with the disco thing happening in Chicago and it's killing all of the live performances, we, the group, said, okay, it's time to bust a move. And I had my first child at that time, Shireen. And once we got our place and everything, we was cool. But then I realized I gotta go. I can't stay here. It's just not beneficial for me. So I had to sacrifice and leave my future wife and my child in Chicago. And I came down here in 76 and kind of went through some changes of trying to establish myself here. It took me 2 years before I was able to go get them and bring them back.
So this is your first apartment. How much you paying at this time?
Here or Chicago?
Chicago, both.
Oh man, I missed that place. That place in Chicago was $900 a month. But it was, but it was like beautiful. I was on the 9th floor. I was literally almost downtown, and I could see the entire skyline from my living room. And my floors the window went from the floor all the way to the ceiling. So I remember when we first got that place, my wife and I, we sat down and we didn't have no furniture. But the floor was warm because the heat came up through the floor. And we put a blanket down there and we just said, gosh, we got our own place. But it was about $900 a month. But the building was brand new. And it was worth it.
And when you came to LA, what were you paying?
LA was rough. I don't even remember maybe 700, 1,000?
165.
Oh, 160, 100. Right. $165 here. That was in 1976.
And you were paying $900 in Chicago?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a lot.
It was. But you got to remember, my wife and I, we wanted our own place so bad, we didn't care. And she was an educator. She worked for the school board. So she was bringing in the bread at that time, not me so much, But it was affordable. And we were happy there. But I was only there 2 months before I moved out here. I left them in the apartment.
So how did you two meet?
Okay. When I was in 8th grade, I decided to do what they called back then a jamboree. Now, a jamboree was when all of the students would come to the auditorium and see other students who thought they had talent in singing. So my mom always told me, boy, just get out there and do it. So I decided to do it, and then I didn't have any background singers for the song that I wanted. So the gangbangers in Chicago, which was called the Vice Lords, a couple of them was friend of mine. And they said, hey, man, we'll do the background for you. Now, I know these brothers can't sing, but I ain't going to say no to them, you know what I mean? So I said, okay, y'all go on and get in the back. And I told the guy to turn the music up so we can't hear them, okay? And my mic was separate, so everything I sung was just going straight out. So I started singing the song. And there's a part in the song that I was singing. The song was entitled Say You. And there's a part in the song that says, give me the key to your heart. And as I sung that part, I put my arm out like that. And guess who was pointing to? My future wife. And we were looking at each other as I said that. After the show, the spark had hit with our pupils. As I was doing that, I had to go find her. And then we started our conversation. I wound up walking her to her house, which was only 2 blocks from mine, which was so convenient. And it's all history after that.
So how old are you at this time?
God, that's a good question. 8th grade, maybe 15, somewhere around there, 14, 15, somewhere around there.
And when did you make it official?
I made it official in 8th grade. because I fell in love with her then. Even though I was still wet behind the ears and didn't know what love really meant or was, I was infatuated with her. And guess what? She was infatuated with me. So we never departed.
Mm.
Never departed.
Never departed. So 8th grade, y'all are getting together. When did you ask her to marry you?
I didn't ask her to marry me until 1978. Now, mind you, we started dating in 1968. So it was a 10-year span before that happened. And that's funny you mentioned that. I was here. I had moved here already. I was here 2 years before I decided to marry her. But I was missing her so much. I said, I'm coming home to marry you. And she said, yeah, right. She didn't believe me. But I flew back to Chicago, and I flew back in January. Wrong month to go to Chicago, bro. Okay, wrong. It was like, I'd say 8 degrees with a wind chill factor of maybe 15 below zero. And she was still staying in the apartment, so we still had our apartment. I'll share this real quick with you. We were in the bed. She got up. She made my coffee that morning. But I was dragging. I was scared. I guess I was scared. And she knew it. And she started slamming dishes and stuff. I said, what's wrong with you, brother? You don't want to marry me. I said, oh, God. So I got up, got dressed and everything. And her and I we didn't have a car. We took the subway downtown. And we went to the judge downtown. We didn't have nobody with us, just her and I. And the judge married us, right? And when we got back home, she scared me. She said, excuse my French, I got your ass now. So what? But she did. And it was a smooth sailing thereafter, man.
That's a great story. That's a great story. So what was the first vehicle that y'all purchased together?
First vehicle. I think the first vehicle was here. Was it a Subaru? I think it might have been a Subaru.
Hey, wasn't that Ford LTD?
He's right. I'm sorry. It was a Ford LTD. That was our first family car. Because at that time, it was just me, her, and Shireen. Yeah.
So when did you add on to the family?
Okay, my daughter my first child was born in 1970. Alex, your next interviewer, was born in 1982. So that was a 12-year span. And then my son Rance came in 1984. So, yeah. So I have 2 babies born in California and 1 born in Chicago.
Okay, cool. So did anyone else within your family, outside of your immediate family, decide to pursue music as well, or no?
No. Besides my brother, who encouraged me before passing, because he sung in the James Cleveland choir. I don't know if you ever heard of James Cleveland, but he was well-renowned. And my brother recorded that song, Peace Be Still, with him. That's when James Cleveland had his church in Chicago. It was called High Park Bible Church on the south side of Chicago. So he was the only one. My mom always wanted to learn how to play an organ. She said that literally every day. And she's the reason I learned how to play piano. Because I heard her say that all the time. So as I progressed in the industry, I started picking at it, and I started picking. I said, okay. And because of the ear that I had developed with listening to all of that music, it got a little easy for me. I could hear the bass line, and that bass line would tell me what the chord progressions were. Put it together, boom, I'm playing the song. I said, okay, this is cool. And as you say, consistency brings you closer to perfection. So that's how I learned how to play piano. And ironically, my son did the same thing. None of us had any musical training whatsoever because I considered it in high school. And I went to a couple of classes, but when they started trying to teach me Beethoven, dun, 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 I said, nah, that's boring. So I went to the radio station. I started listening to the jam. I said, well, let me learn this one. I got it. Let me learn this one. I got it. And that's how that developed. That skill, rather.
So for you, because your brother introduced you to music, right? And now your kids, did you like, was it like, oh, this is what I want you to do, or you gave them the free for all sports or whatever they wanted to do?
I never wanted my kids to pursue my career. Why? Because it's nasty. It's ugly. You know, this is a business where if you're not knowledgeable, you're vulnerable. And when you're vulnerable, you take advantage of. I can tell you stories from highly influential stars, what they went through. And I just didn't want that for my kids. But the funny thing you said about that, my oldest daughter, she could sing. But she could, I mean, you talking about Aretha Franklin, she's another one, bro. She's a powerhouse. And she was pursuing her career until she got married. After she got married, you know, it didn't stop her because her husband was even singing in a gospel group. But unfortunately, he took an ailment. Unfortunately, he had ALS, and it kind of stopped her career to a degree where she was solely for her husband, which is totally understandable. Alex and Rance. Rance is the one. I remember coming on one day from work. I saw my key in the door, and I'm hearing somebody play. La da 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 ba, da 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 da. This is the I Love Lucy music. And it wasn't playing it like a beginner, like just single notes. No. 2-hand chords, and it was fat. It sounded great. And I'm saying to myself, I'm sticking the key. Who in the hell is this playing my piano like this? And when I opened the door, he couldn't see me come in, but I saw him from his back. He was nailing that song. And the end of that song is very intricate. Da 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 ba 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 boom ba 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 ba. He nailed it. And after I said, boy, who in the hell showed you how to do that? He said, Dad, I've been watching you for years. And boy, my chest just like, whoop, just expanded. So I was really proud. I was really proud of him. 2 weeks later, Snoop Dogg knocks on my door and asks my wife and I, can he take him on the road with him? Rance was in the senior year of high school, and he was doing well. He said, I'll pay for the rest of his education on the road. Go ahead on. And that's when he took off, and he went all out internationally, went to Africa and all these other places. And so that's how his career started.
So he's 16, 17, 18. How old is he at this time?
Rance right now is 42.
No, at the time.
At the time?
You said, okay, was he 18?
Yeah, he was 18 or 19, yeah, somewhere around there. He was in the senior year of high school.
Okay. And what made you trust that he could go around the world with somebody?
Well, the thing about Snoop that I knew, he had this image of gangsterism, but I knew his family. And he's a family man. So I said, okay, that's the facade. That's how he's making his money. But that man took care of his family, and that's what impressed me the most. So I said, if he's going to take care of his family, he's going to take care of my son, because he know how me and my wife are. We're just like him. We love our family. So I was comfortable just knowing that.
And so to back up a little bit, you went and you started recording your own music when you got to LA.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about that.
I ran into, there's a gentleman named Louis Price, who I literally grew up with in Chicago. We're in the same neighborhood. Lewis got an offer from the Temptations in 1977. Dennis Edwards, who was the original singer of the Temps, left the Temps. And the Temptations picked up Lewis, and Lewis replaced him. So Lewis flew out to California and set his ground, got his place and everything. And that's how I started working with some of the major people, so to speak, through Lewis and Otis and all those other Temps. I had a friend also named Kenneth who was in association with Smokey Robinson. So I started working with Smokey and all those guys and kind of got acquainted with all those guys. I hope that answers your question. I don't know if I went left or right on that or not.
Mm-hmm. So what about the down moments? Because everyone that's in the music business, they have those down moments. Like, yo, should I continue to do this? I know that it could be hard. I got kids, I got family. What is making me continue to do this?
Well, you're absolutely right. It got so hard at some point I had to develop another skill. And that skill was housekeeping. I taught myself how to strip and wax floors. And then once I did that, I said, you know what? I can probably expand this skill in healthcare. So I went and applied for my job at this hospital in Van Nuys called Hollywood Press. Hollywood Press Hospital off of Vermont near Sunset. And I went over there and I applied for a housekeeping position. They gave it to me, and I became the star of the show when it comes to stripping and waxing floors. I was killing them guys, man. And my supervisor and them, they saw that. So they elevated me to lead tech at that time for all of the floor care within the hospital. So I said, okay, that's step number one. And my dad always told me, you might have to start from rock bottom, but work your way up. Just work your way up. And that's what I wind up doing. I became a supervisor, and then a few years later, I became the director of the department. So when I became the director of the department, the money was really good. I went from Hollywood Press Hospital to Valley Presbyterian Hospital out in Van Nuys. And I did 15 years along with my entertainment because I was still performing out there. And then I went to California Hospital for 10 years, and I concluded there in 2013.
Okay. So what was it like recording records, right? You know, you doing your 9 to 5, you going to the studio, doing your 9 to 5, being with your kids. What did it look like at that time?
Well, the beautiful thing about my job is that because of the work that I was doing and how well I was doing it, I told them this was not my career. I informed them what my career was. I even gave them a couple of demonstrations of my career. They would have these little events, and I'd play the piano and sing at some of the events there at the hospital. Got to the point I was able to bring my entire band there for them on their bigger annual events. And as of that, they always allowed me to leave early. And I learned management real quick. I always used to tell my supervisory staff, if I'm not here and something comes up, you ask yourself, what would Larry do? And simply do it. So I had a really strong support system within my departments, which made the administration very comfortable, that they allowed me, if I had to go out of town, I could fly out of town and come back and with no problem. So I was blessed in that area.
And when you mentioned your brother, what was one of the songs that y'all would play all the time in the house?
Now you're making me go backwards.
Yeah, my apologies.
No problem. Nancy Wilson had a song called, what was the name of that song? I'm gonna live and live out, get what I want, I know how. Don't Rain on My Parade was the title of that song. And he made me learn not only the music, he made me learn how she was singing it because she was chopping it up and it all made sense. I said, oh. So I got, after he gave me that, I was off and running again. I started listening to a lot of jazz, Dave Brubeck, a lot of the heavyweights back at that time. I was even listening to Louis Armstrong. I couldn't do that voice with him, but he was a bad boy too. But Quincy came on the scene too back in that time, and I was really into Quincy. With those, what was the big song, Killer Joe? Killer Joe, don't you know? Yeah, I remember that. I gotta go play that. I ain't heard that in a while.
Yeah. So now your children are having the success in music, and to speed up, right? And you're also finding out some health issues from your wife. How are you dealing with this?
That was a very tough part of my life. My wife was diagnosed with cancer. And I remember not wanting to ever leave her. But, you go through those stages with cancer where your loved one doesn't even want you to hold them because they're in pain or in discomfort. I remember one time she said, why don't you just go to the studio and make some music? And I'll never forget, I left the house and I came right here. And I re-recorded this song that was done by a group called Bobby Taylor and the Vancouvers. The title of the song was Melinda, where this guy was talking about how much he loved this girl and how much she loved him. But I changed the name from Melinda to My Brenda. And I re-recorded that whole song all over again. I put the background vocals on it myself. I did everything except play drums. I had one of 1500. Lamar's played the drums for me on that song here. And everything else I did. And, it's so funny. When I went and took it back, said, baby, listen to this. She said, I don't want to hear that. That's when I knew she was sick. Because she would always, always enjoy the music that we created. But that particular day, she wasn't feeling it. And that's when I knew I was losing her. So I don't talk that. I don't want to start crying on camera, but I miss that woman so much, man. I like to just cherish the good moments that I have with her.
All right, so what's one of the good moments? Tell us.
Man, there's a whole lot of them, bro. It's a whole lot of them. One that comes to mind was that she came up to me after a performance and she said, I'm so proud of you. I said, why are you saying that? She said, you're just a performer. You just do your thing. And I was just watching the audience and they all were feeling you. That stands out in my mind coming from her because she's been with me all my life. She's seen me do this 1,000 times, 3 times, you know what I mean? But whatever made her come up that day, it really made me feel good. She made me appreciate what I was trying to do. It was like a stamp of approval from her.
And where was her family from?
Her family primarily was from Mississippi. When I met her, it was just her mom, and her sister. And, when I started dating her, I started spending a lot of time over there. So much time that mom kind of liked me too. So I became the man of the house over there. If something needs to be taken care of, I would take care of it. You know what I mean? From a male's perspective, I would handle the little male jobs that most women wouldn't do. So I literally became a part of the family at that point.
And where was her father at the time?
Her father was in Mississippi. The mom and dad had divorced. So there was a complete separation there.
Okay. And now, what are some of the things that you are working on that you're excited for?
Currently?
Currently.
Right now, I'm enjoying watching my son's career blossom. You know, I've seen the hard work that he's put in over the years for the last 20 years. And I'm starting to see him being recognized and he's getting his flowers. A couple of weeks ago, we had our annual 1500 day. And at the conclusion of that night, you know how you look for, how do I put this? How you look for approvals from the Most High, the Creator, to show you that you are doing the right thing. At the conclusion of 1500 night, I walked out of that facility saying, wow, God, thank you, because the unity and the love that my family have has metastasized throughout the entire community, because we had over 2,100 people there that night. Nobody knew who the stars might attend or was coming, but they all came to support who? 1,500 or nothing. So when Snoop and Dr. Dre hit the stage, the place went crazy. And Snoop got on stage and he said, hey, me and Dre is here because we love Lawrence. We see what he's trying to do within the community, and we will hit with him 100%. Man, that's all. I was a very proud father that night.
That's good. That's good. So, God forbid anything happens anytime soon for any of us, for that matter. What is something that you are hoping to leave with all of us? If today was the last day, what would you leave? What would you say?
2 words: my legacy and my love.
Archiving Stories has been brought to you by the Compton Art and History Museum in collaboration with Los Angeles County through the Justice Care Opportunities Department, the Amity Foundation through community-based programming, and the Orange County Community Foundation through the African American Alliance Fund. Thank you for tuning in.